All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you, wherever you are in this beautiful world. Welcome to our Inner Circle Live for New York session. I'm your host, Ryan Carthage. We'll be joined shortly by my awesome partner, Mr. Benny Allen. Hope everybody's doing well today on this beautiful Tuesday. As always, let's turn off all distractions, grab a pen and paper, let's take lots of notes. Let's make sure that we participate and engage. And as always, we want to make sure we start our day off by taking massive action. That action stands for accepting all possible losses before entering a trade, preparing you for any outcome, centering yourself, body, mind, and spirit, ensuring a balanced approach to trading, trusting your education, strategy, trade skills, and intuition. Imagine your trade successfully materializing, obeying your trading strategy, avoiding decisions based on greed or fear, and never looking back or stopping once your trade has commenced. All right. So, excuse me, let's get down to it. We got some things to cover this morning. Want to take a look at a few different charts, and yeah, we'll see what the market has to hold. Things are never a dull moment when you have a president like we do here in the United States. So we'll check things out from a fundamental perspective. If everybody can hear me okay, drop me one in the chat and we'll get rocking. Perfect. Appreciate you. So, first things up is Brent crude. Brent crude. Um, Brent crude futures rose to around 73.3 per barrel on Tuesday, reaching its highest level in 3 weeks. Amid concerns over a tighter global supply after Donald Trump announces a 25% tariff on U.S. imports from countries buying oil from Venezuela, which will go into effect April 2nd, right? This could disrupt crude flows to key refineries in China, India, Spain, and the U.S. However, the upward price momentum may be tempered by the administration's order to extend Chevron's deadline to wind down its oil operations and exports from Venezuela until May 22nd. Further weighing on the outlook, Ukraine and Russia ceasefire talks raise the prospect of increased oil exports if a resolution is reached. And the OPEC Plus production hike as early as April also pointed to more supply. Uh, Meanwhile, investors await clarity on Trump's reciprocal tariffs next week, with uncertainty over the size of the duties and targeted countries. All right. So we got more tariff talks. We'll dig into that. And yeah, so we got crude oil on the rise, which is moving out of the 80-20 zone that we've been looking at. All right. European stocks gain. Stocks 50 rose 0.5%. Stock 600 gained 0.4% on Tuesday, rebounding from a subdued session the day before as traders closely monitor U.S. trade policy developments. Donald Trump stated not all of the proposed tariffs set for April 2nd would be implemented at this, and that some countries might receive exemptions, right? So he's stepping back from some of those, but implementing others. However, he also signaled plans to impose new tariffs on autos and pharmaceuticals soon. Meanwhile, Germany's IFO business climate indicator improved as expected, as German business businesses are hoping for recovery following the massive spending plan on infrastructure and defense approved by the parliament. On the corporate front, banks and energy stocks led the gains, with Shell shares climbing 2% after the company announced increased shareholder returns. Surprise, surprise. Bear also advanced more than 3%. All right. So we got that happening there. I want to go over to Bloomberg and look at a couple things. We'll come back to this text message scandal at some point. Not necessarily an impact on the market right now. Trump's threat of secondary tariffs. So this article here, I'll drop this into the community. I'm sorry, into the chat. You guys can check it out. But some key points from this one. Where do we go? Ba, 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 ba. I got some notes on this. Here we go. Key aspects, right? The scope and implementation of these secondary tariffs. 25% tariff imposed on all countries purchasing oil and gas from Venezuela, not just gas. Right. So oil could have an impact there as well. That policy is set to take place April 2nd. Primary goal is to further isolate Venezuelan government by discouraging international trade partners from engaging in energy transactions. All right. Global impact on this, right? Oil market dynamics. Definitely increase oil prices. And then international relations. Countries that rely on Venezuelan oil, such as China and India, may face economic and diplomatic challenges, potentially leading to strained relations with the United States. We've been talking about this, talking about the increase in tension and the increased war talk, right? Be it civil war or even larger scale preparation for war, right? Increased spending in that area, in defense spending. Also, what this does is for China, right? This could increase their tariffs up to 45%, right? So could be an impact there from that perspective. So that's something to keep in mind there as we're moving through for oil and gas, right? Take a look at those natural gas charts. Then tech chiefs, they are at the end of the Biden administration, they pushed through some restrictions on AI semiconductors from certain countries, particularly China, right? The intent behind the controls was to prevent the enhancement of foreign military capabilities and protect national security interests. However, these restrictions have sparked a debate on the broader implications on the global tech industry. So what you have here is you have your large tech companies lobbying the Trump administration to rethink these. These restrictions are set to go into place in May. Let me double check that. Yeah, set to go into place, go into effect in May. And so you have Microsoft, NVIDIA, your larger tech companies lobbying to change these restrictions. They requested the administration to relax the export constraints on AI chips to allied countries such as India, Switzerland, and Israel. The company argues that overly stringent controls might drive these countries to seek alternatives from competitors like China's DeepSeek, potentially undermining the U.S. technology leadership and economic interests. You had NVIDIA. They opposed the export restrictions, suggesting that such policies could harm the U.S. economy and inadvertently benefit foreign adversaries by limiting global access to American technology. Right. So you got a lot of pushback there. If some of these things, if these conversations can continue to advance, right, we're looking at that tech space, tech stocks. Going on a run, right? So keep that in the back of our minds as well as we're working through looking at our charts. And then as we look at our ETFs, understanding where those are and where those could move. All right. So that's on the news front. Over to the calendar. Let me update my chart here. Yesterday, we had a lot of PMI data coming out of the Eurozone. Manufacturing PMI came above expectation. And that's really across the board. Your services PMI came in a bit below. Then from the UK, your manufacturing PMI came in below expectation, and your services PMI came in above expectation. So you got a mix there. From the United States, the same, manufacturing below, and services up a bit. Today, you had a lot of speakers come to the microphone yesterday as well. And you had the meeting minutes. I didn't get a chance to read those out of Japan. I'll get an update on those for tomorrow. For today, not a ton happening, right? We got a couple of FOMC members speaking. We got consumer confidence, new home sales, Richmond manufacturing index, and then you got CPI coming out of Australia later on tonight. Okay. For tomorrow, you have CPI for the UK, annual budget release for the UK, core durable goods orders for the United States, and crude oil inventories, and then other FOMC members speaking, along with Bank of Canada meeting minutes. Okay. On Thursday, final GDP quarter over quarter and unemployment claims. Then you have natural gas storage at 10:30. President Lagarde speaks. Member Barkin speaks as well. And then you got Tokyo CPI. This will be a number to watch for those yen crosses. And then on Friday, you got retail sales for the UK, GDP for Canada, and core PCE for the US, looking at the inflation conversation. All right. So that's where we are from a fundamental perspective. Are there any questions? Anything you guys came across that you want to take a look at? Nope. Nope. All right. Cool deal. Let's dive into some charts. DXY. Trying to come out of that zone, right? We're pulling back now. Yesterday, we just had sideways movement, right? Tons of consolidation with the back and the forth that's happening in the United States government. But we got to push out of the zone. We got a stochastic on the daily in the sell zone, right? We're overextended here on the daily at 100%, right? So let's look for a pullback here, and we'll see if we break this previous support level and push into this 118, 127 zone, or if we continue to stay above, right? Not a ton of data necessarily to drive that, but policy and talks from Donald Trump could impact the dollar. So we'll continue to watch how things move there. especially as we get closer to April 2nd and the implementation of said tariffs. Okay, so we'll watch the DXY there, but we're just in some consolidation right now. We had a nice upward move. Now we're paused. All right, so that's where we are in the DXY. I want to go over and talk about oil, which is on the move. Okay, from a daily perspective, coming out of that 118, 127 zone, strong push to the upside. We do have a stochastic that's oversold or overbought right now. So we will watch for a pullback to come at some point, but we are on the move to the upside, right? And we'll see how the continued conversation regarding tariffs impacts oil, right? But we're headed toward a daily resistance level at 70.61. Okay. Is that right? Yeah. So headed to the upside. So we'll watch as oil continues to press here, the pullback that we get, and then I'm looking for a continuation, right? We come down to the 4, got the beautiful cloud break, your 80-20 here as well, moving to the upside. So I'm looking for pullbacks and continuations on oil, especially as uh, tariff talks and such from Venezuela might start to pick up. All right. So we could look for a potential 80-20 happen here. We push up, get to this daily resistance level. Right. And we see the retracement then come as they might back off the tariffs for a period of time and then look for a catalyst to push it back to the upside and break that $70 mark. That's where my eyes are on oil right now, right? So pushing to the upside, we'll get a pullback, and then we'll look for another move to the upside, right? I am looking for that pullback to come into around that 67.39 area. Once it happens, if it happens, so that's the range that I'm watching for that pullback to come, and I'll be adding additional positions to my portfolio on oil because I am long on oil. Okay, so that's on the 4. We come down to the 1, and there's our move there. Boom. 50% retracement. We head to that D extension, right? Push above, right? So this is all aligning with the higher time frames, getting to the D extension on the 1 hour, potentially new AB boundary, 80-20 on the 1 hour, aligning with overbought stochastic, and then looking for that retracement to come. All right. And in that case, we might take out the A on this 1 hour fib if we get that deep retracement back to that $67 range. All right. So just keep our eyes peeled on that. We'll continue to watch the fundamentals. But I am looking for a retracement to come sometime in the near future on oil, at which we'll look for low prices to buy some more. Questions on oil? Any thoughts on oil? No? No? All right. Cool deal. Natural gas, just range bound right now. Come back to the daily. Just range bound right now. Got the stochastic in the buy zone there, right? And just hovering. Just hovering. We're trying to push to the upside now, right? If we get this swing here and a continue move to the upside, we'll have a swing low there in that zone, right? We came back to that support level, 80-20 bound and 30. Okay. Appreciate it. So looking for a move back to the upside on oil. On the higher time frames, we do have some interesting things happening, right? Monthly time frame, we're overextended, right? On the weekly time frame, we're also overextended. So we could be in for, oh no, not on the weekly, sorry. We're in the middle there. So we'll watch this, right, as we go into the summer season. We'll see how the supply changes, gives us a back and forth. So we could see as we get into the summer months a deeper pullback here. So we'll watch for that. However, right now I'm looking for continuing move to the upside. Okay, so looking for at least to come back into these higher ranges. I'd love for it to get back to 49, or even 54. But I am keeping in the back of my mind that we could see a deeper retracement as we go through the summer, right? And then as we get to a low price, then make that swing back to the upside, get into these higher levels that we've been talking about, the $5.40, $5.60, and potentially even into that higher $6 range. Okay. Um, so I got my eyes on all of those things there. Down on your four, boom, right? So again, that deeper retracement would look like price coming back down into these lower threes, right? Before we get a move back to the upside. Um, so just keep my eyes on that as we go, right? But looking for a move back to the upside, at least in the midterm, and then we'll see if we get another move down. Okay. So that's on the four. Then your one. You just got bouncing around here, right? That lower level of $3.70 will be the D extension on the 1 hour, right? So if we do get a pullback into these $4.20, $4.30 range, right? Looking for that D extension to be achieved here at $3.76. Okay, so again, this downward move is more of a longer term thought for summertime, right? Uh, so we'll see if that occurs, giving us a low price to then get back long. Okay. Reset, we got a 30-minute buy. Boom. 80-20 here, right? Shallow retracement, didn't get to that 382 level, pushed back down into the zone. And we are breaking the cloud right now as we speak. Breaking the cloud right now as we speak, right? Looking for move to the upside. Good eye on that. Reese, drop your sevens in the chat. Um, boom. Okay, so that kind of is in line with that move back to the upside. Then we'll see how high we get, right, before we potentially come back down to the downside. So 80-20 on the 30-minute, looking for buying opportunities there on natural gas. Questions here? No. All right. All right. All right. Cool deal. While we're over here, I want to take a look at S&P 500, and I want to take a look at Tesla. We got Kathy Wood, with her eyes on 2600 for Tesla. So we want to take a look at Tesla, short-term and long-term impacts to see where things are there. But S&P 500, getting a push back to the upside right now, right? Moving back to the upside here as Trump is kind of sort of wavering on some of the tariff talks. We'll see what happens from a larger implementation perspective. But we got this retracement happening here, right? Stochastic in the sell zone, so that that retracement could be shorter lived, right? So we'll look to see if we get another push into 618786 retracement area. And again, this is on the daily time frame. And then see if we get another move down as we continue into retracement territory, right? Tons of back and forth still happening, right? You still got the U.S. attacking the Houthis in the Red Sea. So you got impacts from a shipping and supply chain perspective. You got more impacts on oil. I mean, yeah, on China and some of the Asian countries, even in the Eurozone. So we could continue to see a back and forth here. And with those tariffs, we could start to see as we move into the spring and summer, slowly start to see the impact of them, meaning higher inflation, right? Um, so with that, uh, yeah, yeah, yeah. With that, we could see this move back down to the downside at some point, right? Giving us a deeper retracement. This retracement here is around 10%, right? And you're talking about just regular retracement territory. But as we increase past that 10%, if we break this B boundary level and head to this D extension, you're going to hear talks of recession. You're going to hear talks of bear market, all of those things. And in my mind, when those talks start to pick up, I'm looking for buying opportunities, right? Because historically, as we know, when we get those deep retracements, uh, when we get those deep retracements, crazy buying happens, right? So I'm looking for another move to the downside at some point, and I'm looking for those talks of recession and all of those things to pick up. Yeah, low consumer spending. Yeah, yeah, that's the sentiment across the board right now, right? Is the impact uh on the US brand, right? On the American brand. And yeah, it's happening. But also the other thing I'm keeping in the back of my mind is that Donald Trump doesn't do a lot of things that don't positively impact his pocket, right? So I'm looking for those opportunities that could ultimately positively impact him, i.e., investments in China, right? Um, just because he talks the way he talks doesn't mean that he doesn't have investments in China. He doesn't have investments in Asian countries. He does, right? So keeping an eye on those things and the impacts of lower prices in those areas create great buying opportunities, right? And the stock market has been overbought for a long time. So a deep correction, right, which we're in that correction territory at 10%, a deep correction, right, um, is great buying opportunity, right? So so ultimately, that's in the back of my mind, just my own personal thoughts on some of these things. But looking for that continued move to the upside there, which means on the four, right? We take out the A as we move higher. Boom, right? Push into a 118 and 127 zone, potentially even get to right the D extension here. We got a nice cloud break here on the four, right? So more upward movement coming in the S&P 500. So we'll watch that as price continues to rise here, and see if we get to some higher prices back into the 6,000 range, then a retracement, giving us a lower price to then really explode into these higher 6,000 ranges that have been talked about. Benny's mentioned quite a few times, right? 6,300, 6,400, 6,500 on the S&P 500. So I'm looking forward to those, right? But I'd love to get a lower price first, to give great buying opportunities for that run back to the upside, creating new highs on the S&P 500. Ultimately, I'm bullish, right? But I'm waiting on a low price to on a potential lower price to really lay into some of that stuff. All right. And that's just looking at the charts. Benny and I have been having conversations just about what this looks like, right? From a larger perspective. This is that capital fib here on the daily. Okay. That's the capital fib on the daily. So deeper retracement, all right, getting back to 5,100 puts us right in line with that. Right? We got a weekly target here at 6,800, which I think we'll also get to. But if we get a deeper pullback here, deeper into the range here, that puts us at our next target of 6,400 here, between 63 and 6,400, breaking that high, which would give us a great opportunity for a break and retest of 61 for that continuation of 67, 68 range. All right. So that's the movement that I'm looking at. If we come back to the weekly, right? We come back to the weekly, you'll see where that larger fib lies. Right. So that deeper retracement, and maybe we don't get back to that level, but that deeper retracement back into this zone, right, sets us up for that larger run from a weekly perspective to 6,800. Stochastic getting down into that buy zone, right? So if we get another push down, would be lovely to set us up for that beautiful buy back to the upside, right? So I'm starting to like take small positions on the S&P 500, right? With the understanding that we could see another move down, right? And as we get lower, those positions for me will accelerate in preparation for that run back long. Okay, so that's back to the weekly time frame. So to the 4, right? This is what that looks like here. Take out that A, fresh AB boundary, higher prices for potential move back down, and setting us up for that move back up. All right. So coming down to the 1, take out the A, set you up for an 80-20 ABCD wave to the upside. Okay. So that's where we are. Moving along right now. Moving along right now. But some of those longer term thoughts that I have in the back of my mind as we watch things evolve. Questions on the S&P 500? Holden, where are you in at, Joy?
At 566,230.
566,230.
Yeah.
Yep, yep. In this range here. I like it. I like it. Right. And as long as the fundamentals continue to align for this to move to the upside, I'm with it. Right. I got some positions in this too, moving along. So I'm just watching, looking at longer term things. Um,
I caught it on a pullback, but because of the spread and the next resistance area, but it was only at 15. It was only at 15 at that point. So it hovered and stagnated for it. And then I looked this morning and noticed that it kind of moved further.
it was at 15 what?
No, it was like the spread. My spread was at 15. It was
Okay,
a
okay,
small
okay.
spread. A lot of times when I come in during normal times, if the spread is large, it'll put me in at the next
Yeah,
resistance or support. But when I noticed that when the spread is smaller or it closed in between the ask and the bids, I noticed that's when price tend to start moving. So I
yeah.
was waiting for the spread to close a little bit before entering on the pullback.
That's smart. That's smart. Yep. Yep. Optimizing that position for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Great work. Great work. All right. And it's moving to the upside. And it could definitely continue to move as it bounces back and forth on these tariffs as we get closer to April 2nd as well. So great work. Up with sevens on the chat for Joy. Uh so that is the S&P 500. I don't know if we have any women basketball fans, but I just got word that Juju Watkins tore her ACL. No good, man. No good. No good. Yeah. Man, surgery is different these days, but that's not a fun situation. Uh, it might be Joe. I'm not sure. I haven't been on social media, anything like that. But I just got a text message from my brother. So um, but that might be why she's going viral. But prayers up for Juju, fast recovery. Completely random side note. I'm a fan of stem cell injection, so hopefully she has a team that looks into that can aid in that recovery for her. Help her get back to 100% as quickly as possible. So, um, okay, but man, that's the S&P 500. All right, so that's where we are there. Looking for more upward movement, at least in the short term. And then we'll see what happens fundamentally, see if that changes. All right. Um, um, Tesla, Tesla. Um, Kathy Wood has gone on record to say she's looking for Tesla to get to 2,600. 2,600. We look at Tesla from a very, very wide view. Tesla's at some of its lowest points, right? Um, so if we look at this, if that is a possibility, right, and we're buying at two 270, 260, we got a stochastic on the monthly time frame in the sell zone. If we get some consolidation in here coming back to this 150 area, um, if we get a move over the next couple of years to 2,600, that could set some people up for a lifetime, right? So understanding the these markets and how these things move, um, and listening to key investors and what they're talking about, it piqued my interest, right? So I'm watching this Tesla stock to see where it moves. We got a 382 here on the monthly on this sub fib. Um, I doubt we get into the negative ranges, right? But if we hover here around this 150 level, right, and move back to the upside could be very intriguing. Okay, this was a strong move down, came back, retested that move, and we continued moving. So now, as we look at this, the stochastic in the sell zone, we'll see over the next few months as it levels out and gets back into that buy zone, what happens. We come down to the weekly, right, and we see similar deal here on the sub fib. We got an 80-20 here, right? On the sub fib, we have an 80-20. Shallow retracement. This push up didn't get us to that 382 there, right? So we're hovering in this range. We're starting to turn over. We broke out the cloud, came back, retested the cloud. On the weekly, we're in the buy zone, right? In the buy zone, trying to create a swing low. Okay, we're sitting at price is sitting at the close of yesterday, sitting at 278, right? We might open around 319 today. Um, So stochastic in the buy zone on the weekly, right? If we go on a run back to 700, right, that's still a beautiful run. So um, I have some orders placed on one of my investment portfolios for some buys on Tesla. Looking for this to run to the upside at some point. At some point. So I'm starting to layer those in. We got a mismatch of the stochastic. We're in the sell zone on on the daily, right? Buy zone on the weekly, sell zone on the daily. But if we zoom in here, back up, back up, back up, right? We got a fibs running to the downside here, right? Like I said, I don't think we get into negative territory, so I don't see that happening. But so I'll take this off and we'll look at these sub fibs coming down. There's that 80-20 again on the daily, right? Coming out of that zone. Okay. That would have been a beautiful buy opportunity at what's that, $90-$100 range. But coming out of that zone, getting a nice pullback right now. So look at fibs to the upside. That took out the A. That took out that A there. All right, so that's a fresh AB boundary on the sub fib here, right? Do we get a pushback down to 125? We'll see. It's on a daily time frame, stochastic in the sell zone. If we come back to 125, I'm buying. Right, and then no questions asked for me. I'm laying in small positions now when the market opens today, but if we come back to 125, I'm buying and I'm buying. I'm buying. All right. So just keep that part in mind. Um, as potential, right? So we could get some action like this as Tesla continues to bounce back and forth with Elon Musk doing what he's doing. Um, could see that move. And that's just part of that range bound look from that weekly time frame, right? A weekly and monthly time frame, and then see if we kind of start making that move back to the upside again here. Okay, so got my eyes on Tesla, guys. Got my eyes on Tesla from a long-term perspective, right? Here we are on the 4. We didn't get to that 382 here either. 525, right? So we haven't got to that 382 off this 80-20. So there's still at least upward movement to get to that 382 on these 80-20s on the daily and on the 4. But I'd love to see us push back down into this 118, 127 zone again and give us like a double bottom in that range, right? Double bottom in that range and then set us up for that move back to the upside. That's what I like personally. We'll see, right? We got an 80-20 here on the sub fib on the 4, right? Shallow retracement 118, 127. You see that double bottom there, and we're pushing to the upside. So let's see if we can get some of this to align for us. All right, and set us up for some nice low prices in somewhat of the near future. Okay. So let's keep our eyes on Tesla as it's doing what it's doing. All right. I read that and I wanted to bring that to our attention.
But
Question?
can I ask you a question?
Yes.
I'm sorry about the background noise because I'm having treatment. Um,
It's all right.
yeah, what I wanted to ask with Tesla, because a lot of people have been pulling out of that because of a lot of the political stuff that's been going on in America. So would that, I don't quite understand, because why does it make it a good time to buy? Because apparently people are not investing so much in it because of all this what's going on in America. So I've
Yeah.
heard.
So if you look at Tesla, um, I have some more research to do on the fundamental side of the company itself, but if you look at them just from a technology company, removing Elon Musk from the scenario, their advancements in AI, their advancements in automation.
All right.
Those are key pieces to really the future of even the key pieces to the future period, right? As things continue to evolve and change.
Mm,
So some of the things that they're doing and they've been doing are leading to additional advancements in that industry, right?
okay.
From a tech perspective, in a
Mm,
lot of ways, Tesla is ahead from automation and things like that in the automotive space. Um, so on that side of it, I don't see it going anywhere,
okay. Okay.
right? Strictly from a tech company, removing the political piece out of the conversation
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
just looking at it from a tech company
Ah,
and where they are and what they do, and then adding what they do in the automotive space. I think there's potential there, and I don't see Tesla going anywhere anytime soon.
right. Thanks. Thank you very
Yeah,
much. Because I've been in on a long time since January. So I've not, I've been watching it, but because this
no,
news
beautiful.
broke and I wondered how that sort of kind of affects it. But like you said, take Elon Musk out of it, um,
Yeah,
and look at it that way. Thanks very much, Ben.
yep,
Thank you.
absolutely, absolutely. Once you remove all the I call them shiny distractions from the conversation, and you surely look at it from an industry perspective
Mm.
compared to where price is,
Yeah.
right? It's been at some extremely high prices because of, right, what they do, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so as it's broken down and come back down to some of its all-time close to its all-time lows
Mm-hmm.
in the industry that it's in, I said I don't see Tesla going anywhere.
Okay.
I don't.
Ah.
So even if we were to get back to the 1200 range,
Mm.
right? Like that from $200 to 1200, that's a nice little
Yeah.
setup. So those are my
Thanks,
thoughts.
Ben. Thanks, Ben.
You,
Thank you. Thanks for
you're
that.
welcome. You're welcome. Um, then you come down to the one and you got your 80/20 here, right? So got a beautiful cloud break. Boom. Look for a pullback and continuation to the upside. We'll see when we get back around these high 300s, 400 range, what's happening fundamentally to see if there's a cause for this to make its way back down to the downside. But we got a beautiful setup there on the 80/20 moving long on Tesla. So some buying opportunities there. Questions? Any other questions here on Tesla? Right? And you got a lot of investor optimism on the tech side, especially with those conversations around um, lifting some of those restrictions on chips and we'll see what happens from a tariff perspective on automotive. But yeah. So that's where we are. All right. Um, so those are some key ones there. Let's take a look at the euro dollar. Trying to make a turn back to the upside, but right, we're in this up retracement zone, right? Stochastic coming back down into the buy zone. So let's watch and see what happens here, especially with the dollar kind of dancing around and pushing back down to the downside. Let's see what happens as we're sitting in the buy zone on the daily time frame here. All right. Come back to the 4. Got this 80/20 trying to play out. But do we hold here around this 107 area, right? Previous support. Does this level continue to hold, and do we see the dollar move back down to the downside and that euro continue to rise? right? So watching that to see how this evolves here. Okay. Not fully sold on the deep retracement here, just because of the state of the dollar right now. So we'll continue to watch and see how it moves. Okay. As we come down to the 1, similar story as the 4, right? 80-20 didn't get to the D extension. Beautiful breakdown, but we're stalling out here and we're trying to push back to the upside. So let's watch and see if we get cloud confirmations on this on the move back long, to confirm the hold of this 107 range here. Okay, so watching that there for a continuation to the upside on the euro dollar. Questions here? No. All right. I want to take a look back at this pound yen. It's trying to come back down. So run into this 194 level, right? Strong push Sunday, right? Strong push Sunday. Run into that level. Got stochastic coming out of that sell zone. So looking for another retracement to come, right? And then see if we're able to break that 194 level. Okay. We come down to the 4. This is where we're sitting. All right. We're sitting high in the zone. We got to that 382, gave us a double bottom and a push. We also got a double top here at that B boundary. Stochastic still in that sell zone. So as we make this move back down, right, kind of range bound a bit, we'll see what happens as we come back down here. Okay. Do we just close that gap there and then turn over, or do we get a deeper retracement coming back into this 50%, 61.8% range on the 4? That's yet to be seen. So I'm watching these levels, this range here. To see where price goes. Okay, so keep my eyes peeled there. And then as we come back down to the 1, right, 80-20, we still haven't gotten to that 382 yet. So we could see a deeper move, right? We got Tokyo CPI coming out this week. We'll see how that fares, right? And that could give us that additional catalyst to the downside, right? Getting us back into some of these lower ranges before continuation to the upside here. So just watching this one. Position I was in, I took profit on. Now I'm just watching this range here. I'm just looking to see what happens from a fundamental perspective. Okay. So that is the pound yen. Questions? Got a question?
No, Ben, sorry about that.
Okay. No problem. So that's the pound yen. We got a couple minutes left. That's all I had to cover this morning, good people. If you guys have anything you want me to take a look at, drop that in the chat. Take a look at 1 or 2 more if you guys have any. I'm also watching. We don't have the chart here in Smart Trade, and I haven't marked it up on Trading View, but check out SCHD. SCHD. It's ETF. ETF does well in high inflation environments, which we are headed into. Mix of stocks there, but it give me 1 second, I'll give you the details on it. but they went through a reconstitution, right, or a reallocation on the 21st. And what this means is they pulled out some of the current investments and they added some new ones, and all geared toward, right, all geared toward profitability. Okay. Um, so SCHD, it's a dividend equity stock, right? And it tracks the Dow Jones 100. Um, yeah, Dow Jones US Dividend 100 is what it tracks. So, um, dividend paying companies. Some of the requirements to be in this fund is you have to have a minimum 10-year track record of consistent dividend payout. Um, and you have to demonstrate a strong financial health. Ba, 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 ba. And so to really uphold the fund's investment strategy of performance, right? So they made some changes to the fund, and they removed Pfizer and BlackRock, and they added some others, right? Those are just two of the 17 that they deleted. And they added in some others. They added in 20 others to the fund geared towards profitability, right? So take a look at SCHD from a technical perspective. Um, this is one that I've been in for a while. They went through a split in the fall. They went through a split in the fall. Um, what's happening? And I'm looking for this one to really move to the upside. Um, see, it's been a long time since
Where
I've been
can you
over.
buy the ETF? Any E-Trade or
Yep,
Fidelity?
you can buy that SCHD in any of your major portfolios. You can also buy it in your Darwin as well. Um, so I have it in multiple spaces. Where are my charts at on this? Help me out, good people. How do I get to the charts?
It should go back to your right there. It should
Oh,
say
there we go. There we go. Thank you. Um, there we go. All right. So it's held up pretty well over time, right? If we look at it from a longer term perspective, right? It's just been continued growth, right? Just continued growth. And that's the goal of the ETF is continued growth and continued dividend payout, right? So you have the growth opportunity along with the consistent income, right? So it's a great mix, and it does relatively well during high inflation environments. So this is one that I am digging into further. Been in it for a little bit, but digging in further, especially with this reconstitution, to see what the potential is. But initial talks and initial conversation is that this one could see over this year a 10 to 13% gain, right? And that's before including the dividend payout. You include the dividend payout, you're looking at around 17 to 20% gain. Um, in this ETF over the course of the year. So there's one that take a look at. Take a look at, do some research on it. But it's one that I'm high on right now that I wanted to share. All right. If nobody has anything, we will be back at it tomorrow morning, 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for this pre-New York session. This is Ryan. We'll see you later. Peace.